Will Career Strategy Lab work for you? That's the question we are diving into today, and my answer is probably not what you're looking to hear, but stick with me. So before we get into it though, I'm Sarah Doody. I'm the founder and CEO of Career Strategy Lab, which is a career accelerator for UX and product people who are truly determined to grow their careers in the field of UX and product development. Whether you do research, design, content strategy, writing, product management, or anything in between. And inside CSL, as I like to call it, we help high achievers really strategically improve their career materials, meaning their resume, their LinkedIn, their portfolio, and their mindset, so they can truly stand out in a crowded sea of candidates, feel a lot more confident going into interviews, and ultimately get their dream job without applying to hundreds of jobs. So today, I want to break down one of the most common questions that people ask me about Career Strategy Lab and invite you to consider 3 questions to ask yourself instead of this common question. Okay, so when people ask me the question, will this work for me? They typically are asking for very specific testimonials and examples of other people who are like blueprints of themselves with the exact same career story so that they have evidence of other people who've had success in CSL and they can compare and contrast and figure out, okay, this person was similar to me in all these areas and they achieved this. Therefore, it's most likely I will also have the same result, right? That's kind of what you're trying to do. And I want you to know that it is totally okay to want examples and data and models and research to show you other people who've gone before you and know it's worked for them, right? We in design rely on research to make decisions all the time, and it's smart. If you're considering doing something and you don't have data or research, you might want to run. If you don't have access to that information, it might be a little bit of a yellow flag. Let's assume, like in the case of Career Strategy Lab, that you do have testimonials. And even with a lot of information and evidence, you are still searching to figure out, will this work for me, right? And the thing to remember here is that there is probably no perfect case study, no perfect example I could give you that is going to fully convince you that this will work for you because everyone is different. You can probably find examples of people who have some things in common with you, but everyone's life is different, right? Some people may have more time to dedicate to this than others. Some people might be employed full-time and can only dedicate a few hours a week. Other people might be unemployed and treat this like a full-time job. Or maybe you have family requirements or other obligations that impact the time you can spend, right? Maybe you're a really strong writer and the amount of time it's going to take you to literally write your resume or case studies is a lot less than someone who maybe writing isn't their strong suit. The point I'm trying to make, though, is that everyone has different circumstances and skills and variables and strengths that impact how they got to their end result. So ultimately, while you think you're going to find comfort and confidence in everyone else's stories, the kind of flip I need you to think about is it's not about their stories. It's about your stories and looking at you and your life experience and finding evidence of times in your life when you were successful and knowing that you can translate that to this. Ultimately, it's not about other people. It's really about you. Now, before we get to the 3 questions I want you to ask yourself, I want to quickly share about the types of people who we work with in CSL, so you can really get a feel for which one is most aligned with where you're at today. So the 3 types of people that we work with in CSL, and maybe you've heard me say this before, but they're switchers, climbers, and launchers. And the super quick version here is that switchers are switching careers. They are teachers, healthcare professionals, architects, people coming from academia, etc. The next type of person we support in CSL are career climbers. They've been working in UX for a while, 5, 10, 15, some people 20 years, and they're ready to move up the career ladder. And the third type of person we support in CSL are called launchers. Launchers are brand new to the world of UX and are typically coming straight out of an education program like a college, university, or boot camp. Now, if you've not applied to Career Strategy Lab yet, then what I want you to do is go to careerstrategylab.com and apply. And if we accept your application, because we want to make sure it's a good use of your time, we will send you a link to this private training I did. It's called the 4C training, and it walks through these 4 C's that are really imperative to your career and your job search. And it breaks down how we help switchers, launchers, and climbers specifically, as well as, you guessed it, a bunch of testimonials. But if you're listening to me now and you've already been accepted to CSL and have looked at the testimonials and watched the 4C training and still aren't sure, then I want you to keep listening because I think you'll have an answer by the end of our conversation. So right now, I want you to kind of imagine we're in a workshop together. And I want this to be very interactive. So grab a piece of paper, pause this if you need to. And when you come back, the first thing I want you to put on your piece of paper is, are you a climber, switcher, or launcher? Because that context is really important. And now I want to invite you to take a moment and do a quick little career assessment, if you will, and think about your career story so far. So one of the things I want you to consider is, how did you get to where you are today? And maybe it would be effective for you to draw it out almost in a timeline. Do whatever works for your brain. Feel free to put things on your timeline that you were really excited or proud of, or things that didn't go so well, and kind of start to form a bit of a career story or journey map, if you will, about where you are. And think, do you feel excited about this? Are you embarrassed about this? Are you frustrated? How do you feel as you're doing this and as you're filling in your little timeline? There are no right or wrong answers here. My timeline definitely has a lot of highs and a lot of lows, but I want this to be an opportunity for you to really notice what comes up as you start to think and reflect on your career story so far. So take as much time as you need, but if you want a time, maybe spend 5 minutes doing this really quick and then come back through and spend 10 minutes later on. So as humans though, we love stories, right? Think of amazing books you've read or movies. We get caught up in the emotions around them and everything that happens. So I think it's really important to notice and get clear on what emotions are surrounding your career story right now. And as you think about the next steps of your career story and whether or not CSL is a part of that now or in the future, I want you to notice if you feel nervous or excited or hesitant about taking a leap like this in your career. And whatever you feel, that's okay. It's how you feel. You can't change that. But it's important to notice these feelings so we can separate facts from feelings as we go on. So keep that in the back of your mind. And let's get into the 3 questions to ask yourself to determine if Career Strategy Lab will work for you. And as I go through these questions, as I said earlier, feel free to pause this so you can really reflect and think about this as I talk you through these prompts. Question number 1 is, what are other times in your life or career when you've taken on some type of challenge and come out successful on the other side? Maybe you signed up to run a race, or you decided to pursue learning a new language or paying off debt. Whatever it was, think about examples like that in your life. And think about when you've taken on those challenges. Maybe try and identify 3 to 5 of those. If that feels like too much, don't stress out. This isn't meant to be stressful. It's okay if you only have 1 or 2, but spend some time thinking about this. And like I said, get outside just career. It can be your personal life too. Question 2 is, What other projects have you started and actually gotten your desired result? So often when we start a project and we see that blank canvas, so to speak, we are worried that we won't finish, that we're not good enough, that it's too hard, that we'll run out of time or motivation, etc. But when you hit pause and think back to other things you've accomplished in your career or your personal life, it gives you that evidence that you can do hard things, you can persevere, you do have resilience, you do have commitment, that maybe you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I have these things. Think back and imagine how you felt when you actually did those things, right? That's going to give you some confidence that you can do hard and challenging things in the future. Now, the third question I want you to ask yourself is, what is an example of something else you've learned, maybe a skill for a job, and then put it into practice that you didn't know much about at the beginning, but now feel totally confident in? So maybe you had to learn a new piece of software at work, and now you know it inside out. But a year ago, you had no clue how to use that thing, right? Maybe it's personal. Maybe you had a kid and you thought to yourself, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And now a year or two later, you think, okay, I got through that. I can do this. Branch this out beyond your career if that's helpful. And hopefully those examples give you some ideas of times in your life when you've had to learn something new and now you can think to yourself, I'm really confident in whatever that is, right? Looking at those three questions and hopefully whatever you wrote down on your paper, I hope that you have a really awesome set of evidence from your own life and experience, that you are someone who can take information and make it work for them, that you can do hard things, that you can commit to a challenge and actually do it, and you have a history of success. And when you have evidence from yourself about you, that you have the right character traits to do stuff, and you combine that with the testimonials of people similar to you, then I can say with confidence that Career Strategy Lab, or frankly, any other program or thing you do in the future, it will work for you. If you can look at testimonials and say, yes, I'm similar to these people who had X result, and in my own life, I have evidence that I've done and learned new things and committed to challenges, those two things combined, that's going to give you the confidence to know, okay, I've got this. All right, that wraps up our 3 questions that I wanted you to ask yourself so you can figure out if Career Strategy Lab is right for you. And if you're feeling like Career Strategy Lab is a heck yes, I want to get in, then here are 2 things you should do. If you already applied and your application was accepted, then all you need to do is just reply to one of our emails and someone from my team will get back to you and let you know how to join and when your next opportunity is to join. And if you want to get on a call with someone from my team and maybe clarify a few last little questions, talk through a few things, that's possible too. Just reply to one of our emails and say, hey, I want to have a call, and we will send you the details of how to get that scheduled. And if you have not applied to Career Strategy Lab yet, but you're thinking this might be right for you, then the first step is to just fill out the application. You can do that at careerstrategylab.com. And we will get back to you in about 5 days to let you know if your application is accepted and what your next steps are. And if you found this helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could share it with someone who you think could benefit from these questions, or maybe even Career Strategy Lab. This will help me reach more people and help them get their dream job and get unstuck from whatever situation they might be in right now. I hope you have a great rest of your day and that these questions were thought-provoking, and I will talk to you soon.